Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to Community for Islamic Research. Today, the topic that we are going to discuss it is about contradictions in the Bible. The contradictions in the Bible. So, as far as we all know, that the Bible contains a lot of contradictions that are not answered till yet, till now. So, some of the contradictions we would be starting, it would be three contradictions only. But first, before starting, I would like to quote a verse from the Bible. First Corinthians chapter 14, verse 33. For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints. So, just every time I give you a contradiction, just keep this verse in your mind. The First Corinthians chapter 14 verse 3, for God is not the author of confusion. Okay, let's move to the first contradiction. First contradiction. Let's read 2 Samuel chapter 24 verse 9. Job reported the number of the fighting men to the king. In Israel, there were 800,000 able bodied men who could handle a sword, and in Judah, 500. But let's see. You see, in this verse, it's saying that Job reported the number of the fighting men to the king, as in Israel there were 800,000 able-bodied men, and in Judah 500. But in this next verse, in another chapter, in another verse, in Chronicles chapter 21 verse 5, and Job reported the number of David. In all Israel, there were 1,100,000 men, including 470,000 in Judah. Now, you see that there is a difference of 300,000 in the number of the Israelites, while the difference in the number of the people of Judah is 30,000. This is a big contradiction. This is a big contradiction. Either you accept the first one, or either you accept the second one. You take out the first one, or you take out the second one. Except one. So that is upon the Christians, that how do they respond to this. The second contradiction. Moving towards the second contradiction, we need to learn about Second Kings chapter 8 verse 26. 2 and 20 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. Okay, 2 and 20 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. But let's read Second Chronicles chapter 2 verse 22. 40 and 2 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign. The first one said he was 2 and 20 years old, 22 years old. The second verse says he was 42 years old. Now you see this contradiction speaks for itself. The latter statement, the second one, Second Chronicles chapter 2 verse 22, is obviously wrong, and the commentators on the Bible have admitted this to be the case. You see, it has to be wrong because the age of Ahaziah's father, Jehoram, at the time of his death was 40 years, and Ahaziah began reigning just after the death of his father, as is known from the previous chapter. Moving towards the third and the last contradiction of this live stream, the third contradiction. It Let's read 2 Samuel chapter 24 verse 1. This is the most famous one. And again the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he moved David against them to say, go number Israel and Judah. Now you see this statement is plainly contradicted by First Chronicles chapter 21 verse 1, where it says that this thought was provoked by Satan. Like if you read First Chronicles chapter 21 verse 1, it states Satan rose up against Israel and incited David to take a census of Israel. You see, the Christians say that God is not the creator of evil. These two verses turns it into a very serious contradiction. Either God is Satan or Satan is God. Choose one. Now you see again the verse comes again. 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 33. For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints. God is not the author of confusion. God is not the author of confusion. I see many confusions in the Bible. It means the Bible is not the word of God. The last thing I can say to them, to for all of us, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us all safe and increase our knowledge and show us all the right path. Keep our iman safe. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. For now, I would ask for leave. 5 minutes stream. I know it's a small time, but inshallah we will look at it again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you.